See, this is so good because this is what I was like ranting the entire game. It was like, you need to just have an open conversation.
Hello, everyone, and especially my 6 subscribers. Alright, this is it. This is the finale to Depression Quest. Last time in Depression Quest, we began reaching out to our support network. We declined meds. We had that bad family dinner where our mom kind of called us out. We had a very good night with Alex. And we continued working on our project. So once again, I'm going to just do the quick disclaimer. Sorry, my chair keeps squeaking. That's not the disclaimer. I'm going to do the quick disclaimer that this game does have the possibility to set some people off. I am going to say that this particular chapter, it has more resolutions in it rather than complications and problems. So this one's probably a little bit safer to watch, but as I've said before, if any of this kind of stuff triggers you, sets you off, then this is totally a fine series for you to just kind of skip over. But with that, let's go ahead and get into it.
It's a little past 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You're at your computer, frustration levels peaking, rubbing your eyes and sighing heavily. You're working on a project from your job that has you stretched to your wits' end, trying to meet a looming deadline, and as it lurks closer and closer, you're seriously doubting your ability to get it done. You're dragging your feet, a little at work due to your complete lack of energy lately, in spite of wanting to do a good job. You feel yourself unable to push past it and feel horribly useless for it. You slide your hand off your face to look at your screen as it beeps at you. Hey, are you there? I really need to talk to someone about something. Ooh. You feel like you're getting nowhere with your current task and could probably use a break. However, you know that you have a history of getting distracted and then losing motivation to pick something back up again afterwards. What do? Multitask, not an option. Tell Attic you're busy. Try to regain your focus. Don't answer. Answer Attic. We're going to answer because I need to talk to you about something is pretty serious, or it has potential to be. And as far as like getting the work done, one, if something's seriously wrong with Attic, I'd rather help Attic than stay and do an okay or mediocre job at a job that I'm not passionate about. But it also might help get my mind off of work, and so when we're done talking to Attic, I can look at my work with like refreshed eyes, like I was saying before. You're feeling like you've hit a brick wall with your task, so why not take a break and help out a friend? Hey, what's up? Oh, good, you're there. I just found out I got cheated on. I don't know what to do. Oh no, that's horrible. The two of you talk for a long time, and you lend a shoulder to your friend. You give him space to rant, to cry, and most importantly, to be able to voice his inner turmoil. You give him your full attention and talk him through what his options are for what he does next. You keep him from doing something rash. The two of you decide it's best for him to sleep on it before doing anything. Exhausted, he departs for bed and thanks you for being there to talk to him. As you close your eye and window, you feel horribly sorry for your friend, but happy you were able to help. I feel like this is going to give this is going to lend my character perspective, because the fact that he feels so good about being able to help his friend will let him know that when he talks to other people, they're not doing it out of obligation or pity, they're doing it because they legitimately care. It serves as a tangible reminder to you that you're capable of being useful to someone instead of solely being a mess that needs someone else's help. You boot up your work project and find that you're suddenly able to get some solid progress done on that night. Which is... sorry. That was expected because, yeah, walking away from something and coming back to it is always good, but when it's something serious like this, it does lend fresh perspective where you're like, there are so many bigger things in this, like, and it really creates ideas because you are looking at the task in front of you as something smaller now. Oh no, I'm back in black and white. Well, there's kind of tinges of color. Um, it's yet another sleepless Thursday night. You're at Alex's apartment, wide awake in bed as she's sleeping peacefully beside you. She fell asleep hours ago, and you've been lying here, unable to shut your brain up long enough to fall asleep. That listing. You've added the feeling of insecurity about your relationship to the rest of the noise in your head keeping you up tonight. It was kind of a tense night between the two of you. You arrived after a stressful day at work, and as you made dinner together, you barely said a word. You were stuck in your own head and had a hard time really being present with her, as your thoughts turned to all of the ways you feel like you're deficient at being a good person and beating yourself up mentally for each one. She told you she could tell you were in one of your moods and said that she wouldn't push you, but missed talking to you as the two of you sat on the couch together. You wanted to tell her how much you love her, but you couldn't make the words come out right and ended up sounding defensive instead. As you lay there next to her now, you trace your fingers across her arm, just lightly enough to not wake her. You still haven't explained your depression to her, or how you've started seeing a therapist, and it's starting to feel more and more like a secret you're keeping instead of something she simply doesn't know about you yet. Yeah. It's become more and more apparent that it's impacting your relationship with her, and you feel guilty about this. However, you're also terrified that if she knows exactly how fucked up you are, that she would leave you. You already worry that she's only with you because she doesn't realize how terrible of a person you are yet, and you're afraid that this would be the final thing to expose you. She stirs in her sleep and squints as she opens her eyes. With the confusion that comes with waking up, she asks if you're awake, and then if everything's okay. Okay, open up with her if ease isn't an option. Tell her about your situation. Tell her it's nothing and she should go back to sleep. So if we're feeling this, then we need to come clean about it, because this isn't healthy. Even if she does end up leaving us and, thinking that therapy is a waste of time or whatever, then one way or another we have our answer. You feel like a jerk for accidentally waking her up, but you're afraid if you put this off any longer that you won't find the strength to tell her everything later. No, actually, everything isn't okay. Can I tell you something important? Alex sits up, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. For the rest of the night, you lay side by side, holding hands as you tell her everything. You tell her how it's more than just feeling sad sometimes, how you feel trapped by your own mind sometimes, how sometimes you feel nothing at all, and how you can't shake it off. You tell her You tell her how you've started going to therapy, how you feel embarrassed about it, and how it's working out for you. She listens the entire time, occasionally asking questions about how this or that works, or asking how to explain something further. She squeezes your hand and tells you she understands, and that she's sad that you didn't tell her sooner. After laying silent for a moment, the weight of what you did hits you. You desperately want her to say something, to tell you how she's feeling about all of this, but you're too afraid of what the answer might be. You start convincing yourself that now she knows everything, she's going to leave. There's no way someone could deal with how you really are. So how can I help? What do you need me to do? She asks. You think for a second, and the answer you come up with fills you with despair. I honestly don't know. I wish I knew how to fix this, but I don't know that you can do anything. I think it's something I just have to live with. She looks at you with sad eyes before kissing you on the forehead. Then I'll live with it with you. I don't know how you could possibly love me. She rolls over and wraps her arm around your neck, settling her head on top of yours. You don't need to. Just know that I do. You are definitely still depressed, but things are getting better. Whatever you're doing seems to be working. You're feeling like you're taking steps to affect positive change in your life. You now seem to enjoy seeing your therapist, between giving you a chance to talk things out and the CBT treatments or techniques. she shares with you, you find your sessions extremely helpful. And we're still not taking medication. I thought it was such a much better Netflix picture than before. Ugh, let me get some tears out of my eyes. Goodness. Whew. This game, it really hits ya. It's a Friday night, and you're laying across your bed feeling pathetic. As you were leaving work tonight, a group of coworkers asked if you wanted to join them for drinks. Feeling antisocial and put on the spot, you declined. You have a habit of doing this. You're often so convinced that you're weird and terrible and that any invitation to hang out will end up in disappointment for those inviting you. You never feel like you know how to act in group outings and feel like a total creep since it seems to come so naturally to anyone who isn't you. You find yourself petrified by breaking some unknown social rule that you don't often go out. Now, however, you find yourself alone at home. Your brain is telling you how pathetic and sad you are for being unable to just be a normal person and go out with nice people. You can't figure out how you can't just go out and meet people and enjoy yourself. At the same time, you're also feeling like no one would possibly want to hang out with you if they really knew you because you're dull and weird anyway. You try your typical strategy and boot up Netflix to distract yourself from those feelings, but frustration with yourself builds and you realize you have to do something else with your night. Anything else to take your mind off of how awful and lonely you feel right now? What do? Get over it. Go out to the bar with your coworkers. Yeah, that's not happening. See if Attic is online. Call Alex. Drink. That's probably not healthy. Go out somewhere alone. Play with your cat. So, if I were truly in this position, I would either call Alex or play with your cat. We're going to play with our cat. Because I want to be home. I want to be in. But, yeah. This is something that is simple, that if I find joy in it right now, it's something that I can continue to find joy in later. Nights like this, you're very glad you made the call to become a cat owner. Feeling too socially burnt out to interact with other people, you go find your cat. You get her to chase a laser pointer for a solid 30 minutes before she tires herself out. Yeah, that's being generous sometimes. 30 minutes is like the lower end. She pads over to you and collapses in a heap in your lap and purrs loudly. Though initially she hated being picked up, you carry her to the computer desk with you and she doesn't object. Setting her down in your lap, you comfortably surf the internet for a while before heading to bed. Having her here with you has a calming effect and it makes you feel a lot less alone. When I first moved here, actually, Draco was so instrumental. And I mean, he still is. He's a very important part of my day-to-day life. But moving to a new city in a new state with no friends and not near any family, he made me feel a lot less alone all the time. What was that? Those are shoes. It's a cold Saturday afternoon. You've just arrived at Alex's apartment and you're happy to finally see her after a week of absence due to your schedules not lining up due to work and school. You hug her in the doorway, but she breaks away sooner than normal and sits down on the couch as you take off your sneakers and lay them in the usual spot right next to hers. There's something I was hoping I could talk to you about, actually, she says. You feel anxious at hearing those words. You move to take a seat on the couch. Your heart starts to race. This is one of those we need to talk situations. Has she finally had enough of your baggage? Did the week apart make her realize how much better things are without you? She sits down across from you on the couch, and you can tell by the look on her face that she isn't looking forward to saying what she's about to, and you feel your grip tighten on the couch cushions. So, she starts. She breaks eye contact and takes a deep breath, which spikes your anxiety. Things with us have felt kind of weird lately. It's like you've been really distant and I'm not sure how to take it. I guess I just want to make sure you still want to do this. Us, I mean. She notices you gripping the couch. I mean, I know you have difficulties with your situation, I mean. She looks at your face, seemingly searching. I don't know how much has to do with it, or if it has to do with me, or I just want to know where we stand. She looks at you with uncertainty, and you can practically see the knot of pain in her chest. You try to rein in your knee-jerk react to run. Unsure of what to say, your mind races. You know you have to choose the next words carefully. Though the self-deprecation rages in your mind, you try to think through it. You try to sort out what you really want to do here. A myriad of feelings is boiling inside of you. Which one do you listen to? Recommit to your relationship with ease and grow closer for the experience. Yeah, that's not happening. End things for her own good. You're clearly not making her happy. You're having difficulty managing the relationship and your personal life, breaking things off for you. You still want this. Reassure her that you are committed to working through things. You still want this. Say whatever you can to make her stay, regardless of your concerns. Yes, there has been distance. Attempt to solve it by asking her to move in. Okay, I feel like moving in is not a good thing right now. But let's let her know that we're in this. We're in this together. You look at Alex's face, and you feel, did I choose the right one? You look at Alex's face, and you feel her heartbreak. You've never meant to hurt her, and you're torn up that you've caused her pain. You can't help but feel like you've let her down, and you want to answer for it. You desperately want this relationship to continue, to be stronger. It's one of the few good things in your life, and you feel like you owe her so much for helping you as much as she has. Owning up to your failings is hard, but you push through your insecurities for her. You're right. You're absolutely right, you say. A lot of it has to do with my depression. Sometimes it's really difficult for me to be a good partner to you while struggling with my illness. You take her hand, squeezing it. That's not an excuse, I know. I'm trying to figure this out as I go. The two of you talk about it further, and you apologize for letting her down. She listens, and you both talk about your feelings. See, this is so good because this is what I was like ranting the entire game. It was like, you need to just have an open conversation about how you're both feeling. You end up discussing ways the two of you can be better at being there for one another, and the conversation ends up being a very positive thing for your relationship. So, are we okay? You ask a while later. She smiles at you. Yeah, we are. You are doing well. You may still have your bad days, but you now have effective ways to deal with them, and you don't get nearly as low as you used to, or for as long. You still visit your therapist, and even she has remarked at how much more alive you seem. Whew. Sorry. It's December, and you return to your parents' house. This is the final storyline, I think, that we haven't wrapped up. Aside from, no, we still need to finish the project and figure out what we're doing about work. It's December, and you've returned to your parents' house to celebrate the holidays with your family. Out the living room window, you can see a gentle flurry of snow drifting down to meet the pristine blanket of white yet from yesterday's unexpected Christmas Eve snowfall, and you quietly laugh to yourself at how incredibly cliche it seems. Still, as you sit down to dinner, you can't help but notice how being surrounded by family and the overly kitschy atmosphere your mom's decorations have created have almost made you feel relaxed and almost comfortable. Your mom is running around frantically, checking the oven and the stockings, and just generally trying to family time it up, while your dad sits at the head of the table, drinking a beer and laughing with your brother Malcolm. His wife Karen is there too, whom you've always gotten along well with. And your parents even agree to let you bring your kitten along. She's been darting in and out of people's legs and hopping into laps all night. As you thoughtfully munch away at your turkey, listening to the conversation around you, your thoughts drift back to a few months As you thoughtfully munch away at your turkey, listening to the conversation around you, your thoughts drift back over the last few months. You think about how hard things have gotten, replaying over in your head some of your worst as well as some of your best memories. It seems like all of these things have come to a head over the past few months, with a sudden flurry of relationship turmoil and professional anxiety, social stress, and above all, an omnipresent sense of weight that it seems you've just recently become aware of. You're drawn out of your reverie by your dad's familiar booming laugh at some cheesy comment Malcolm made. It seems to have hit his mark. Sitting at the table, you're suddenly immensely glad for the chance to be able to ignore everything for an evening, and not have to struggle with trying to explain yourself for once. Fortunately, everyone seems to be content with laughing at each other's jokes and discussing favorite sports teams, and for a while you'll think you'll be able to get through dinner without any embarrassing personal intrusions. But no sooner did that thought cross your mind than the table conversation trickles off, leaving a slightly awkward silence to descend upon the dinner. "So how are you doing these days?" your mom asks you pointedly. It's such a simple question, and one that you seem to have had to answer countless times recently. You take a moment to collect your thoughts, then looking up, you take a deep breath. Well, that's a beautiful picture. You've never really thought of yourself as a fighter. And even to say it now, it sounds hokey. But looking back on the past few months to where you are now, it really does feel like you've endured an immense struggle. And you look at where you are now with a sense of something that isn't quite pride. You still hate your job and find it unpleasant. But you're surprised to find that going into work every day is no longer a monumental challenge. You've started adopting some clever techniques, like taking short 2-minute breaks every hour to break up the monotony. And you now view your job as just 8 short hours of your day. A compartmentalizing technique Dr. Melville told you about that you found actually works quite well. You know this job isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life, and you've started actively looking for other positions, even attending a couple of preliminary interviews. You've started making efforts to go out with your friends more. While the social scene still makes you very uncomfortable sometimes, you're more and more able to let yourself just enjoy the company of your friends. In fact, your relationship with many of them has increased over the past little while. You still definitely have days where you flake out or don't feel like hanging out, but for the most part, your friends are understanding and appreciate your communication. By far, the biggest challenge you've noticed in life has been in your relationship with Alex. You were terrified of talking to her about everything at first, but looking back, you feel like it's only strengthened your relationship. She was always supportive of you emotionally, but lately the two of you have been even more in sync. And it's really starting to feel like you're building a life together. It even seems like the two of you have been making a more concert effort to sync up your schedules and have been spending more and more of your downtime with each other. Pretty soon, you think moving in together will be a very real possibility. Dr. Melville has commented on how well you've been doing, and you can't help but agree. With all that seems to have been improved recently, it's sometimes difficult to think about the fact that you still have bad days. Sometimes even really bad days. They serve as a stark reminder of the fact that this will be something you likely have to deal with for the rest of your life. Depression is a battle, a thought you're certainly ahead in the fight. And though you're certainly ahead in the fight, you know the battle isn't ever going to be over. Sometimes even Alex can tell when things are going rough, despite your best efforts to the contrary. While you know that your depression can never be cured, you have a very strong support network in your friends and even Malcolm. And armed with the newfound confidence in your friends and family, you accept that the road may be rocky. It is at very least not solitary. You meet your mom's gaze from across the table and muster up a smile. I'm good, Mom, you tell her. She says nothing, but you can feel her smile from across the room. We really want to thank you for taking your time to play Depression Quest. We realize it may not be the most enjoyable game you've ever played, or even the easiest, and we sincerely appreciate your involvement. Like depression itself, Depression Quest does not have an end, really. There's no neat resolution to depression, and it was important to us that Depression Quest's own resolution reflect that. Instead of a tidy ending, we want to just provide a series of outlooks to take moving forward. After all, that's all we can really do with depression. Just keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, it's our outlook and support from people just like you that makes all the difference in the world. Thanks again.
Alright everyone, that was Depression Quest. I'm aware that the ending that I got was very good, it was very happy. It was one of, if not the most positive outcome of that game. I do know that that game has several different endings. This game, I feel, was a really good simulation on what depression feels like, and it's a good way for people to understand depression from a different perspective. Playing this game was interesting and different because even though I've had my own bouts with situational depression, it let me reflect on sort of how I have acted and treated people in my own life that have depression. For those that suffer with depression, I feel like this is a good game to sort of just get you in a different headspace. It's a game that can help show you that you're not alone. If you feel uncomfortable making some of these decisions, you can sort of simulate it. You can test out how this character will feel if you do XYZ. So just a game I would highly recommend. Like I said, it has a bunch of different endings. This wasn't the only playthrough that there is. So, go download it, go play it. It was great and it's free. But yes, anyway, my next visual novel I'm going to be starting soon. It'll be a little bit more lighthearted, but I feel like games like these are important to have out in the world just because they really let people understand and empathize with their fellow man. But with that, I'll leave you there. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!